they approach the debate with the understanding that their point of view is correct, right? So for you to debate them on some level, they expect you to concede to their point of view and argue within that framework, and I refuse to do it because I reject the stance.
Exactly. I abhor the
And
concept. You can't argue with stupidity.
and I just revert back to my classic conversation ender because it breaks them. It breaks them every time, which is just simply like, if you want to have this debate with me right now, then what you have to do is explain to me the book of Job in a way that doesn't make God look like a massive prick. Like, that's the kicker, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's hard to
God
do
and the
through a
devil
lot of.
ruin a man's life on a bet. Like that is the synopsis for like a crappy B-list movie, not a religion.
Literally. It's
And
just
then my
like
other
without.
favorite, I was just gonna say my other favorite argument is like, well, the Bible is the root of all morality, and it's like, cool. When were you gonna start acting like it?
I do feel like what you're talking about is really important, and to just sort of reframe that, because I feel it now as well. The reality of the situation is like we've been debating between ourselves and with other people, between religions and non-religious individuals, whatever, between societies. We've been debating for fucking thousands of years over the existence of a deity, and it's never helped because that is doing what they want you to do. That's meeting them on their level. And in reality, I feel the pain and suffering of being a human being who's fed up with not just the thing, but the debate about the thing. It's wrong. I
So
don't
here's
feel discussing it with you at this point. It's wrong. Religion's wrong. Your opinion's wrong. Your beliefs are wrong. You are incorrect. That's what I think. And for me, that's a problem because it represents very clearly a lack of rational and critical thinking. So it's not about the debate. I'm not going to debate whether God is real or not. I'm telling you that you are incapable of perceiving critical thought in an important situation.
so like I know I've said this a number of times, right? But it really like segues into the conversation and like the debate, right? And it can be an interesting like vehicle for segueing away if you so choose. Um, but the thing is, right? And I'll be careful how I phrase this, but
I didn't mean you
people
specifically,
who
by the way. I just meant like
no,
religious
I get
people.
it. I
Yeah.
get it. I get it. I picked that up a little bit later. Um, but like people who are ignorant, right? People that hold ignorant positions do not come to ignorant positions by logical means.
Exactly. Yes.
Therefore, changing an ignorant opinion using logic is often the most ineffective way possible, right? And that's when it becomes necessary, if you want to change this person's mind, to screw with their emotions. When they feel that they are wrong, that is when it
That's
will
what it'll matter
change,
most to them. Yeah.
right? Yeah, exactly. Like you look at like the modern like political climate here, right? A lot of people voted for this, and then they saw how it played out, or it affected someone that they know directly, and now they're against it, right? Because they didn't get there by logic. They didn't cast that ballot using a logical process. They used their emotions, and it comes down to a fundamental human flaw, right? We all think we're smart. We all think we're important. None of us think we're ignorant, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are all like the coolest person in our own minds, right? But the reality is like, oh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I lost my train of thought, and that's annoying. It's gonna come back to me. Um,
Make them feel it. Make them feel they're wrong.
yes, yes, yes. So we don't like to like look at ourselves as being wrong. I'm still trying to pick it up here. And Maybe I should hit the bowl again. That would help me remember.
But you are saying something that you've said to me many times, so I can fill in a little bit by just saying, like, yeah, I remember what you're referring to. And the
That'll
reality,
jog my
the
memory too.
crux is very much like they didn't enter into that situation following logic. So the path of logic is the least useful thing you can do to debate them on the subject. Logic isn't going to work in a place where it wasn't bred in to begin with, right? So instead, like you were saying, you have to meet them on a more emotional level. Whatever your methods are specifically, I don't know, but the understanding for me very much
Yeah.
comes from recognizing that, like, the person you're talking to, they didn't arrive to this conclusion through logical means. They did it as an alternative
Yeah.
to their personal fear.
And now I remember. So the thing is, right, is we all believe we're smart. So, but the reality is that humans, the majority of the time, we make decisions emotionally. We feel a way and we make a decision. And then what happens is we use logic to come up with rationalizations
Fill in the
for why
gaps.
we made that decision. And then we say, I've thought about it. This is very logical. And it's not logic, it's a rationalization or an emotionally based decision.
Yeah, 100%. And that is something we've talked about these things a few times. It's always worth saying. That's something that I have been thinking about a lot recently, and I've seen in some other pieces of media being discussed as well. So it's very ever present on my mind. But people have a tendency, genuinely, irrefutably, and factually, and we all do. It's just one of these things that every single one of
Mm-hmm.
us do. And the only difference is whether you can be honest with yourself or not.
Mm-hmm.
We have a tendency to decide the thing that we want to be true, and then, like you say, we just retroactively fill in those gaps. Like, once, if I say, like, I want this thing to be true, I'm then going to go and, like you say, come up with the most logical. And it's easy to do that. It's easy to provide what you consider to be logical, because if you decide that that is the outcome, then anything that might even remotely feed into that being true is going to get latched onto and then extrapolated to fit the narrative. And that is what we
Mm-hmm.
do. We make the decision, and then we make everything else fit that narrative, rather than, like, looking at the narrative first and then coming to a logical conclusion. And I feel this
Yeah.
a lot. I'm not trying to toot my own horn up. I honestly think it's just because I'm autistic as shit. As a result
Mm-hmm.
of that, for me, I have to do everything manually. Everything for me starts as very black and white. I'm more inclined to leaning this way than that way. This way is like, I'm right about a thing, and this way is, I'm probably wrong about a thing. And in the same way, because you said it the other day, and it's very true for me, I also have a tendency to, like, assume that if I know something, then everybody else
Mm-hmm.
already knows that thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
The
if you're
bias of knowledge. Yeah.
exactly, and if you're trying to, like, that's another way in which we're already predisposed to, like, filling in the gaps. If you started from that basis, that bias of knowledge that you have, then you were wrong from the get-go. And everything that makes the most sense to you thereafter, it's still wrong. It's just the most sense that you could make out of that wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I do that
That's
a lot.
amazing.
Like, I have for me, like I said, everything's very manual. So, and I like to think that I know for a fact, and I can say this about myself without feeling weird about it. Like, give myself credit. The reality is, I don't make assumptions. Especially with, like, my anxiety and stuff, I'm far more likely to sit and consider a billion different versions of what could be true, regardless of whether it's important or not, rather than just being like, this person did this for this reason. This person feels this way about me. You know what I mean? Like, somebody
Yeah.
does something in passing and you're just like, oh, I took offense to that. That was done because that person is thinking or feeling about me right now, but it's not. You just witnessed another human being who is the main
Mm-hmm.
character in their own story, not thinking about you at the time, but you can't separate yourself from the ego, you know? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, that other person that exists, they exist for me. This solipsism right there.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of circles back, right? This inability to, like, imagine a circumstance, right, that doesn't involve us, right? It kind of circles back to, like, it's a thing I came up with. I like to say, right? If religion is mankind's inability to define existence, then the soul is mankind's inability to define non-existence. And that's why we have this concept of an afterlife to begin with, because our own minds cannot comprehend our minds not existing at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's that adage as
And of
well that's
course,
been going around. The whole like asking people if I don't know where I saw it. I've seen it a couple of times now. Somebody being like, are you afraid of ghosts? And they're like, why would you be afraid of a ghost? Because if the worst thing that can happen to you is that you die, then a ghost represents life after death, and that came from some like fictional something or another. But that is literally like a microcosm for Christianity, that specific belief system, because it literally describes the thing that the average person who turns to faith, like what they're afraid of and what it is that they get out of their faith. Belief in the Holy Spirit, belief in the afterlife. And the church can say to you, like, if you don't believe in what we're telling you to believe in, you're going to burn in hell for the rest of eternity. So now there's a threat, but it's not our fault we have to threaten you that way. That's just the way of our religion. And that's enough to make people who are more susceptible to fear to be part of it without asking. The people who are less susceptible to the threat of eternal damnation, because maybe they're like afraid of death, but they're not afraid of who they are as a person, they're led in with a gift of an afterlife, like a perfect eternal luxury that goes on beyond death for eternity. And that's really, I think, because we're talking about it, that's the largest part of what I think people are afraid of. Like, because
it reminds me of a story.
fathom it.
And I want to tell you a story from my actual real life, right? So there was a point in time where I had to move back in with my mom, right? Just due to employment, financial situations. And so I'm living there, and she's married to an absolute scumbag, a terrible, terrible man, and who's deeply religious while also having an affair with the preacher's wife. Another story, anyway. I'm sitting there on my computer, and I'm watching Ghost Hunters, right? Because I was kind of fascinated by the show. Here's a show about ghosts, but instead of like, oh, it's a ghost, like they're actually trying to disprove it, right? I thought that was kind of neat. And so I made the mistake of trying to talk to this outright moron, right? Like I was trying to like have an actual conversation. I'm like, he's like, oh, what you watching? I'm talking about Ghost Hunters and stuff, and he's just out of nowhere. He's like, I don't believe in ghosts.
Of course.
The Bible says when you die, you either go to heaven or hell. What would you want to stay around here for?
Okay, so not only does he not believe in it, which is a hypocrisy, but he also doesn't understand the concept of a ghost, even in fictional terms.
Yeah, it's amazing. We're talking about a dude who came from the backwoods of Tennessee and ended up living in the backwoods of North Florida.
Awesome. That's a
Yeah,
lateral
Florida man
movement right
lives.
there.
Let me tell you something.
Oh,
Yeah, no, that's great.
Some beautiful smooth jazz. It's just
Mm.
Oops.
Sadly, I have to have your stream muted because we're on the thing.
Yeah, it's so good. It's probably not thingy, but oh well. Yeah. Fucking dying over here.
Same. I muted myself a couple times to like.
Yeah, ditto.
Because the bong hits me like my dad used to.
That's how you know it's doing what it's supposed to.
Yeah. That's the thing. I'm just kind of acclimated to it. I just need a little bit of abuse to enjoy something.
Yeah. No, that was the problem. I used to abuse myself with that shit so regularly back in the day that now that I'm super chill about it, there's like a larger cap, you know what I mean? Like I'm not about to sit here and just deliberately try and fuck myself up because I just don't have that mentality. Like I used to embody that mentality, not realizing that like it wasn't part of a problem, but like, you know, a whole individual body that needed